Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Happy Tuesday. It's October the 3rd. Happy Oktoberfest. Guten Morgen to you all. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Make sure to click that like button. And if it's your first time watching the show today and you find yourself saying after a few minutes, you know what? This is good content. I'd like to see this show again. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. And of course, thank you to rumble.com for hosting us, platforming us, not demonetizing us like YouTube did, and for featuring us at the front page of rumble.com today. I imagine that many people who will be seeing us today will be seeing us for the very first time. So let's give them a great show. Starting at the top of the hour, Joe Biden says that Democrats should be a little bit nicer to the future white minority in this country. It's a very strange story. We've also got more video of him falling asleep. This is the man who is actively campaigning for a second term for president of the United States, who can't even stay awake during a regular press conference. We'll play that. We'll talk about it at the top of the show, as well as new evidence that shows that his son, Hunter Biden, may have hired hookers from a trafficking ring. It's a little weird. It's a little gross, but that's the president's son for you. By the way, President Biden says that his son has done nothing wrong. It's all a lie. The videos and the pictures show us say otherwise, Mr. President. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And 2 out of 3 Generation Z still financially dependent on their parents. Yeah, they're one of the younger generations, of course, so maybe that's not something that should be so out of the ordinary. But more Generation Z are actually surprising me and stepping up with more side hustles as ways to get by, because we are all living in Bidenomics right now, and the inflation that we're all struggling with is causing people to take some unorthodox steps to be able to bring in some extra income. We do like to talk about business on this show and ways to help you to make more money. Consider me your libertarian Dave Ramsey. We'll talk this morning about some popular side hustles that Gen Z is engaging in to make ends meet, and possibly you could be able to add them to your list as well. I also have a list of 11 retailers, probably some of the favorites that you like to frequent, that are facing the possibility of bankruptcy in the next year. We'll talk about that in our financial segment here in just a few minutes, about 10 to 15 minutes from now. And then at 7:30 a.m. Central Time, an anti-gun lefty journalist was killed in Philadelphia yesterday. I know you're all completely distressed about it. And we're continuing this conversation, especially in the wake of the death of Dianne Feinstein, of how we should react or behave when people who hate us and want us dead are killed tragically. In this case, well, this anti-gun leftist journalist, he went out and made a spectacle of himself, frequently attacking right-wingers and pro-gun people like ourselves, and interestingly attacked Scott Adams, the Dilbert cartoonist, out in public for saying that when Scott Adams says that if Joe Biden is reelected, then many of you will be dead within a year. And well, Josh Kruger attacks Scott Adams for that like 48 hours ago, and then he was subsequently killed in his home. We're going to talk about that. And I guess I have a question for you, because I've got a whole list of his tweets and some of his public statements that he's made against people like you and I, the former leftist journalist, Josh Kruger. We've got some of the statements that he made publicly about people like yourself and myself, and it's got me wondering, a big question, and this is a question for you. Maybe we'll be able to answer it by the end of the show. Do you think you'll look back on your social media posts when God finally takes you before the pearly gates and plays that big, this is what I understand it to be, at least how I was raised. There'll be a big video screen essentially, or holograms perhaps, that will show you back your entire life. Will you go back and look at all of the posts that you made on social media and be like, cringe? Or will you be like, yeah, badass? I could just see Jesus right now. Maybe he pulls out his little mobile phone, whatever it is, like, having wireless, and he shows it to you, and he's like, okay, he's like, do you mind explaining this right here? What about this meme right here? And he's like, this meme is very bad, but it's still very funny. I don't know. I think Jesus would understand. The memes were too dank, Jesus. The memes were too dank. Anyways, we'll talk about that lefty journalist who was killed in Philadelphia. We'll go through some of his tweets and public posts that were quite prophetic, and we'll share that with you at 7:30 a.m. this morning. At 7:51 this morning on the show, about 45 to 50 minutes in, Whoopi Goldberg versus Nancy Mace on abortion. Whoopi Goldberg says that she's pro-life. What? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Bob Barker. Rest in peace. Speaking of heaven, Whoopi Goldberg gets in a fight about abortion with Nancy Mace, claims to be pro-life. It doesn't have to make sense. Maybe it's leftism. Maybe it's Maybelline. Anyways, Whoopi Goldberg says that she's pro-life. We'll say, what is she talking about? And we'll play that clip for you at 10:51. We'll have a good conversation with it. The 8 o'clock hour is when things get spicy and super interesting. Not that things aren't already spicy this morning. Camellia Peterson will be joining us for the game of Let's Make Camellia Blush. At 8 o'clock this morning, we're going to talk about a St. Louis teacher who was put on suspension from her school district because, well, her Generation Z high side hustle involves taking naked pictures and posting them on the internet. I know what you're thinking. Hey, no, stop it, you pervs. You're not supposed to be like that. No.
God!
Terrible, wrong,
God,
bad,
please,
evil.
No!
Jesus is watching you. He's going to pull out your mobile phone. He's going to pull out your lewds on OnlyFans when you go to heaven and meet and go to the pearly gates. Is your name written in the book of life? Yes. But anyway, speaking of the book of life, we'll talk at 8:30 this morning to the Better Bachelor. He's a YouTuber that I've been watching for the last couple of months. Goes by the name of Joker. He's a confirmed bachelor. He lives in the woods and he talks into his camera about men's issues. And certainly men's issues have come to the forefront in recent years with discussions that have been generated or prompted by people like Andrew Tate, people like Pearlie Davis, and others. Interestingly enough, I think Camellia will have something to say about the red pill question and the discussion that we've been having about parental rights, family courts, and justice for men and fathers in this country. But what I thought was interesting was it was actually just yesterday morning. Before I start the show, I usually am tuning in and listening to news or other podcasts or things to give me ideas for our own content. But the Better Bachelor, Joker, posted this Pew Research poll that showed that the majority of divorces in this country are initiated by women, 70% or more, and not just any women, but a majority of the divorces that are initiated in this country are initiated by Christian women who consider themselves, or at least self-identify as, very religious, not just semi-religious or religious, but very religious. And of course, this has led to an online discussion and a debate about whether or not men who are interested in getting married are better off just trying to find yourself a good Christian conservative girl. Well, when you look at the statistics, it is a majority of divorces being initiated by good Christian girls who consider themselves to be very religious. So it's kind of a trap out that's being laid out there for men, and one that we'll discuss with the Better Bachelor and Joker. You know, we talk about the men's issues here on the Wake Up America show because now you're a man. Man. God bless men. I love men. Not in that way.
How dare you?
But if that's your thing, it's up to you. If being gay was a choice, it would be the right choice. Just kidding. Just kidding. Can't you guys just loosen up a little bit? Can't you just relax? For the love of God, we're gonna die one day. We're gonna end up like Josh Kruger, cold in the ground. But you probably won't be found with heroin and angry text messages from an ex-boy lover. Speaking of. All right, let's go ahead and hit the top of the show. Mr. President, what is you doing? Oh, no, baby, what is you doing? Take a look and a listen at our current commander-in-chief, the man who holds the codes to the nuclear weapons.
By the end of the governing crisis, it's time to end these constant, anyway, I'm going to be good. Disagreement averts immediate crisis.
This is not just anybody's grandpa. If you were going to go visit your grandpa and he was sitting in the big easy chair that you got from Big Lots on sale for $325 on Labor Day, marked down from $500, and you got the 15% discount because you signed up for the rewards program, and then you set grandpa in the big easy chair and he sets his legs up and he's starting to talk to you about, international politics and affairs and how he hopes that Donald Trump's going to become president again. And then he falls asleep in the middle of his speech. You'd be like, oh, that's okay, grandpa. Put your feet up, have a little relax, pet the dog. But this is the guy with the nukes.
By the end of the governing crisis, it's time to end these constant, anyway, I'm going to be good.
Anyway.
Disagreement averts immediate crisis. By the end of the governing...
Yeah, that is the president of the United States right there. Kind of weird. A little bit there. Nice to see. We just crossed 1,000 viewers over on rumble.com. Good morning, Rumblers. Nice to see you. I was just entreating the audience with a little clip from our current commander-in-chief, President Joe Biden, who is constant in the governing crisis.
It's time to end these constant. Anyway, I'm going to be good. Disagreement averted.
Dear God, Mr. President, what is going on? So anyways, if you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. Glad to have you here. Don't forget to click that like button. And I know for many of you, it will be your very first time watching and listening to Wake Up America show. So make sure you do us a favor and subscribe to the channel before you leave today so you can get updates when we go live. The Wake Up America show is every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. And we'd love to see you again. Come back and join us on the show. And don't forget too, you can also text us anytime, night or day. I always check the text messages. I saw Quest Fanning texted me last night at like 11:30 or like midnight. He had bought a bunch of cool stuff from our merchandise shop at ap4libertyshop.com. Thank you, Quest. Appreciate that. You got themselves that Michael Myers No Lives Matter shirt. Very funny, and some coffee as well. Don't forget to get your own coffee and your awesome Halloween Liberty merchandise at ap4libertyshop.com. All right, what else did I have for you in the kitty this morning? Oh, yeah, this was an interesting story. Joe Biden tells Democrats to treat the future white minority with respect. Okay, this is from Breitbart, so you got to be careful because you know they're like the hardcore uber nativist types and stuff. So let's just parse this out here and keep an open mind. European origin Americans deserve respect even after they become a minority in the United States, President Joe Biden told a friendly interviewer in an October 1st interview. So a couple of days ago, Joe Biden says to this progressive ProPublica website, he says, we're going to be very shortly a minority white European country. And sometimes my Democrat colleagues don't speak enough to make it clear that that is not going to change how we operate. Okay. So he says Democrats must treat white Americans with respect as they and their children quickly become a racial minority in their own nation. Biden says it's not so much the economic benefits, it is treating them with respect that the Democrat Party has in the past, on occasion, wasn't really just an occasion, spoken less to their needs and fears or concerns. This is interesting. And so I think a lot of the guys that I grew up with in Delaware and in Scranton, Pennsylvania, they feel like they're not being respected, not so much by policy, just by the failure to talk about their needs. Now, I find this fascinating, and obviously this is, an election year gambit by the president as we head into the primary season and the presidential race has really kicked off. President Joe Biden says to a progressive website that that Democrats should probably be a little bit more cognizant of the plight of the Rust Belt industrial workers, right? So this is a much more common theme that you see as populism has taken hold, not just in the Republican parties, but the Democratic parties as well. You could characterize populism on the left as the Bernie Sanders type Democrats, and you could characterize populism on the right as the Donald Trump style Republicans, right? MAGA style Republicans, which very much embody what populism is, which if those of you are unawares, populism is anti-elitism, right? So if you consider yourself to be someone who is oppositional to the elites of the globalist elites, if you will, that's a populist position. And you can be populist on the left, and you can be populist on the right. So the only thing, however, that unifies the populists of left and right is an opposition to millionaires and billionaires. Of course, Bernie Sanders, he's only opposed now. Once he became a millionaire, he used to say it was the millionaires destroying this country. But once he became a confirmed millionaire, while holding a government job, no less, and doing nothing, there were no Generation Z, there were no side hustles, whatever, he's a boomer, I guess. There were no boomer side hustles. Well, there were side hustles, but they're the type of politician side hustles that the rest of us just don't really have access to. But once Bernie became a millionaire, then all of a sudden his rhetoric changed from, it's the billionaires in this country that are the problem. And of course, a lot of Republicans, a lot of right-wingers who consider themselves to be populists, they're not fans of the billionaires in the world, and I get it, right? There is as I'm a libertarian Republican, there is a streak of populism amongst libertarians and the libertarian movement and libertarian philosophy. If the elites of the world are using government to conspire against our rights, well, then consider me a populist. But if, as the leftists believe, lefty Democrats like Bernie Sanders, that the answer to that is more democracy, right? We need more direct democracy. Well, then I'm an elitist son of a bitch. No, no, I don't really think that that's the answer, actually. But in that sense, you could call me an elitist because I like things like the Electoral College. I like the anti-democratic parts of government, like the courts, specifically the Supreme Court. Where would we be without the elites telling the Bernie Sanders and and the populists of the world, hey, listen, you guys, you can barely read, and you only show up to vote once every 4 years. You don't go to meetings, and you don't very much participate in this democracy that you claim to love. So the people who only show up once every 4 years don't get as much a say as the rest of us who are showing up to our weekly county Republican or Democrat meetings in order for us to be able to have a voice in government. The founding fathers wanted a country that was not a democracy, but a republic, that it was a participation republic, meaning that the people who actually show up and participate in the political process have more of a say through the Electoral College and through other means than the people who just show up to vote once every 4 years. There are people in this country who feel very proud of themselves because once every 4 years they engage in quote unquote democracy and they think that they've done their part. While the rest of us are sitting there working our asses off, sometimes every day, in order to spread the ideas that we believe in. The leftists and the progressives and the socialists know this. Why don't you? If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're grateful and glad to have you here. 1,200 people watching us. God bless. God bless. God bless. God bless. Make sure that you click that like button. And if you're like America and you're enjoying the content, like he says, he's making a great point. My father says the same thing. And you want more content like this, you got to click that subscribe button and come back and join us every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. We appreciate you very much. It's nice to see Katie556 here with us, as well as Quest Fanning, M. Kitchens. First time I think I've seen you here, M. Kitchens. Nice to see you. Grover Bentley, God bless. As well as Drummer Goy. Always love that name. Studio 314, Matt Unruh, Kobaya X. I think it's your first time here. Nice to see you. The 823 joining us as well as David Lee, 180. Everything rhymes this morning. All your names are rhyming. Is this a conspiracy? It's a conspiracy against me. Yeshua Helper is here for the first time today. Nice to see you, Yeshua. Love seeing it. Rumble.com, you're the best around. Got Karate Kid in my head last night. Did karate last night. Feeling good this morning. How about you? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, you could text the show anytime, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. All right. Well, let's talk. All right. Get off the white minority thing and the Democrats for just a moment. Might get to the Hunter Biden sex story, but we'll get it's a little early for the sexy stuff. All right. So 2 out of 3 Generation Z still gets financial help from their parents. A recent poll that studied 1,000 U.S. residents reveals that a sizable number haven't ventured as far from home as they once imagined they would. Close to a third remain in the town where they grew up. And astonishingly, 40% of that group still shares a roof with their parents. Now, the reason that many of Generation Z haven't left home is pretty clear. 2 in 3 receive financial help from their parents. 29% of Americans still live in their hometown. The median distance that U.S. residents reside from their birthplace is a mere 30 miles. Those who haven't crossed state lines are, on average, just a 47-minute drive away from their original stomping grounds, the study found. Now, I will say this. I don't want to speak in too sweeping of a generalization, but I do want to say this. It's not for everybody. Travel, getting away from home, moving out of your hometown, it's not for everybody. There are plenty of people who they marry their high school sweethearts and they never go farther than 50 miles away from their hometown. There are a lot of people who are like that, and that's perfectly fine. I will say, however, that I think that a bit of travel and a bit of culture and going and seeing the world, some of the famous places in the world, I do think enculturation is a good thing, if that even is a word. learning to speak a little bit of another language, right? It gives you a little bit of a broader perspective. And of course, being able to be out on your own and take care of yourself without receiving financial assistance from your parents, probably also a good thing, right? In the majority of cases. But I don't necessarily blame Generation Z the same way that I do blame the boomers. Just kidding. Just kidding, boomers. I know you're very sensitive. All right, we're teasing. Everybody, by the way, I know a lot of people were angry because I posted a picture on Instagram of Lana Del Rey, how she got fat. And I posted with the caption, "This is worse than 9/11." And people were so angry at me. But here's the thing, everybody gets roasted, okay? You're not immune from getting roasted. Everybody's going to get roasted. And I know people are really sensitive these days, right? Very, very sensitive. But to those people who are so sensitive that they get angry at the fact that they get roasted, I say, okay, relax. Everybody's going to get roasted. I get roasted. You're going to get roasted. Scott Fawn, who's just walking by, who donates this studio to me, gets roasted, right? Because if without Scott Fawn, I would be a broke bitch and would not be able to do this show. So roast me, all right? Roast me in the comments. Everybody gets roasted. AP gets roasted. Fat chicks get roasted. Fat Lana Del Rey gets roasted. Boomers get roasted. Generation Z gets roasted. But let's get back to the point, right? Generation Z side hustles. Now, why are so many people doing it? It's not necessarily their fault. They're getting destroyed by Bidenomics, right? You go out there and it's $3.69 to fill up your F-150. You're going to pay a whole hell of a lot more than you used to under the Trump years. Did you see the interview that I did with John Miltimore yesterday? I actually sort of structured my the column this week in Human Events magazine around this conversation that I had with John Miltimore, because he was in a sort of semi-roundabout way asking me if I thought things were better under the Trump years, and not necessarily in comparison to Joe Biden, but really just overall. And I think he was really talking there about the tone that Donald Trump has created, right? The little bit more aggressive tone. And I answered that how I feel. Yes, I do think that things were better off during the Trump years. And the reason for that is because mean tweets never bothered me, right? The problem with the conservative movement or the Republican movement or the right-wing movement, whatever you want to say, the problem with the right-wing movement is that for so long that Republicans and the right valued decorum over victory for conservative policies, meaning that they didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, right? They didn't want to fat shame anybody, right? They didn't want to make anybody feel bad, right? And as I have been saying and trying to just, drag my fellow libertarians and liberty lovers along, we are not going to nice our way to freedom. Okay, there's just our slave masters are not going to set us free voluntarily without a bloody fight, without a bloody struggle, right? We're gonna have to have some people, and we'll have some people who will play nice, right, and be diplomatic and be able to bring people along on their side who are swayed by those kinds of tactics. But there are cruel, callous, cold, evil men and women who are who see it as their destiny to take from you and I our God-given natural rights. And those are the people that, well, it just reminds me of the H.L. Mencken quote. Even a normal man must at times feel the urge to spit on his hands, hoist the black flag, and begin slitting throats. Metaphorically speaking, in Minecraft, if you will, in Minecraft. Back to Generation Z. 2 out of 3 Gen Z are still getting financial help from their parents, but more and more they're stepping up and engaging in side hustles. We'll get to that in just a second, but I think one of the big reasons, to put a button on this topic here, one of the big reasons why Generation Z steps up and does more side hustles is not just because of the instability in the economy, but the instability in their own place of employment. I mean, think about how many of us were treated during the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know about you and how your employer situation was during COVID-19, but from what I had heard from a lot of people was that the experiences that they had when things got rough during the pandemic made them realize that their employers don't give they don't give two about them. They don't give one about them. And a lot of people realize that they cannot count on an employer. I was talking to my dad the other day when he came visit, and we built a little above ground garden in our house for my beautiful smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife. We were talking about how when he used to work at Western Electric in Kansas City. That was before it became AT&T, right after it was Ma Bell. And he worked there for 30 years and got a pension, right? And I mean, how often are you going to go work at a job and there's going to be a pension? Yeah, they might have a 401k matching and all that kind of stuff if you're lucky and you get one of those employers. But how often can you go and work for someplace and there's going to be a pension? Yeah, if you're on a taxpayer sucking, blood sucking government job, yeah, sure, you can get a pension, right? But for most of us, that's not a reality. And the reality is if people like Generation Z or even millennials, people like myself, if we want to increase the value of our portfolios and we want to increase our assets, you're going to have to move from job to job to job to be able to increase your salary. Most of us know this. And in order to do that, you're going to have to not be loyal to an employer, right? Or you're going to have side hustles. And I'm looking forward to talking to you about some of the side hustles that people engage in. Some of these I do myself. But again, before I get there, I do want to say good morning to all of our friends, 1,470 watching us on live stream on Rumble right now. Love to see it, and I'm glad to have you here. Don't forget, if you haven't already, click that like button and subscribe to the channel so that way you can get updates when we go live. We appreciate you all very much. Trick Star says, our rights were taken from the British Empire by our founding fathers and eventually surrendered by the boomers. Don't make me sad this morning, okay? I appreciate that. Joni Rankin says she was lucky she got a bonus from her company before we filed for unemployment. Must be nice. For those of us, though, who cannot count on anyone, I am my own employer. Let's talk a little bit very briefly before I get to that headline story with Josh Kruger, the Lefty journalist who was murdered in Philadelphia. We'll get there in about 5 to 8 minutes. Let's talk about some of these side gigs that Generation Z is engaging in to try and supplement their income. One of the things that they do, and I know that you'll roll your eyes when you say this, and listen, I got banned permanently from TikTok. But one of the things that young people are doing in order to generate an extra revenue is to create a niche page on TikTok, right? So essentially what they do is you pick a niche that is interesting to you, and you post to your audience consistently until you get up over 10,000 followers, which isn't honestly that hard on TikTok. It's a lot easier to grow there than it is on places like Instagram or on YouTube or places like that. And it's once you do that, you can reach out to brands manually and pick up potential sponsorships and things like that. And you'll get more deals that people will reach out to you. So let's say that you're a handyman or carpenter. My buddy Caleb Vanderfeltz, he, for example, works at the auto body, the repair shop here in town, and Chemna Collision Repair. Anyways, sponsor me. So, anyways, that's a free ad for you, Chemna guys. So Caleb, he's got all of these skills. He's got all these manual skills. If Caleb were to take a phone and record him doing certain repairs, like he came out and actually he fixed the doggy door that we had for our dog, brought out all his power tools and got the job done with his buddy there in like 2 or 3 hours. So if he were to do things like that, for example, and post it on TikTok, simple repairs, household repairs, or something like that, that's an interesting niche, right? That could become an interesting side hustle for him. And I know Tanner Chemna, who's probably not listening right now, but Caleb Vanderfeltz, who probably is over at Chemna this morning, is Tanner. If he could hear me, and if he is hearing me, then he's probably like, don't give Caleb any ideas because Caleb might be financially free and have to leave his employer. Rise, proletariat, rise, workers of the world unite. Rise against our bosses. All right, just kidding, guys. Create in-demand content. Obviously, that's another one that it's really along the same lines. Now, a lot of people made a lot of money in like cryptocurrency and e-finance, but the money was like a lot of things. It wasn't really in the cryptocurrency as much as it was in selling the shovels, if you will, right? So creating blogs on topics that are niche topics and things like that is another good side hustle. And you do get good money. For example, one of my websites that I own has been around for such a long time that it just for the fact that it has existed on the internet over a long enough period of time, it makes it lucrative because people want to advertise on the site in order to grab authority of their own websites if they have a link to their own websites. That's called SEO or search engine optimization. So you don't even really have to do a lot with a website. You can just make a nice website and then let it, update it every once in a while, right? As a blog or what have you. And after 5, 6, 7 years, it's kind of like a lot of investments. You have to wait for it to mature. People will ask you to advertise on your website just because you get that sweet, sweet SEO. This is an interesting little side hustle that people are engaging in now called SWAS, or software with a service. This is one that you might want to actually write down and think about ways to make money on, because I think this is probably a really good little hack. So, whenever a new software tool emerges, you will have companies that will adopt it and then they'll need training on it. So, for example, I am becoming an expert on a new software program. Well, I'm becoming an expert on Midjourney, and this is all AI programs. Midjourney, ChatGPT, and Adobe Express, which has AI tools. And of these three AI tools, what I could do is create educational videos about those tools so that people can learn how to use them. And then what you can do is advertise yourself as a consultant at the end of that video and say, hey, listen, I can educate your workforce for a fee. And that's really where the big bucks lie. Because think about it, you'll probably make some revenue from the videos that you post on that, and you'll get some traffic. But the real big money is always going to be in selling your soul to corporations, or just, businesses who need training. I mean, there are probably here in Jefferson City, where I am at right now, there are probably some businesses that would love to pay me a certain set fee in order to teach them how to use the latest in AI tools. And I should probably do that. I should probably get on that side hustle. But, if you can learn a software tool that's new, that will be adopted by a lot of people, like AI, for example, and you can then turn around and advertise your services as an educator on that. That's a really good side hustle. Things like selling stock photos. This is a really good one if you're good with a camera. That's another great side hustle, although AI is going to kind of shake that up. But uploading the photo on Shutterstock or Adobe Stock is a way to get paid, and it's really simple. You can just create your own account, take really nice photos, turn around and sell them. And sometimes you can actually make a lot of money on that. I've seen stock photography, if it gets used a lot or becomes a meme, for example, like some of them that you've seen, sometimes you'll see a stock photo that becomes a meme. You can make good money on those. And finally on this one, become a virtual assistant. This is a good one if you want to work from home, where you can essentially sign up for a company that needs virtual assistants. Some of them are about $30 an hour. They'll pay you to just be online, ready to answer questions. You'll have to go through a training process, of course, for any company that you work for. But virtual assistants, you're the person who's waiting there, ready to answer questions whenever a customer types into the box, hey, I need to speak to someone about this problem. So good Generation Z side hustles. And I think that you guys could make some good money on the side of those. All right. So Josh Kruger, he is a lefty liberal journo who was killed in his home. Anti-gun activist, hated right-wingers, hated pro-gun activists, basically hated people like you and me. Killed in his own home under mysterious circumstances. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
In the year 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to wake up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
Mao ordered his citizens to throw off the four olds. Old thinking, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So, your whole life went in the garbage overnight, no biggie. And those who resisted were attacked by an army of purifiers called the Red Guard, who went around the country putting dunce caps on people. Yeah, who didn't take to being a new kind of mortal being.
If you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race, or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted.
Well, things haven't been so sweet for Ben & Jerry's after the company posted an anti-American tweet, a few of them, on the 4th of July. The ice cream makers declared the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land.
Well, someone should tell Target that, because they're now selling swimsuits with tuckums in the women's section of the store. And they even have a line just for kids.
Yeah, we're going to reach out to Ben & Jerry's and ask them how they can live with themselves as they operate a multi-billion-dollar company on stolen land while declaring other people give up their so-called stolen land.
This is the child section. This is literally the kids section. I'm next to a literal onesie that says whatever the hell that means. We have glad you came out, and I'm so happy that you're queer. In the kids section. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, but pride and toddler don't belong in the same sentence.
Good news! Starbucks will offer its workers reimbursement of travel expenses related to accessing abortion and gender-affirming procedures.
Kyle Rittenhouse was seen wearing a Black Rifle Coffee Company shirt, and they wanted to distance themselves from that individual. Key employees at the company also were donating to Democrats. Hafer doubled down on throwing many in his base under the bus, describing them as racist and a repugnant group of people.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Hope you guys are feeling good, in a good mood. Starting to get a little sweaty up in here. Appreciate you tuning in to the Wake Up America show. You know what it is? It's this awesome coffee, the Founding Flavors coffee. Do you guys like that ad, that commercial? I write, produce, perform all of my commercials as well. Did you like the Morgan Freeman voice that I did during the thank you anniversary commercial on that one? Yeah, that's my voice doing the Morgan Freeman impression. You didn't know? Huh, that's been pretty good. There we go. If you're enjoying the content today, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much to rumble.com for featuring us on the front page. I'm grateful to you. You have transformed the lives of me and my wife. We are so excited and happy and thankful for rumble.com. When YouTube a month ago demonetized us, we said to ourselves, we looked at each other like we're in trouble now. And then rumble.com stepped up and started featuring us on the homepage, and things are better than they've ever been. God bless America. God bless Rumble. God bless you. Don't forget to click that like button. Help us to support spreading the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. That's what we're all about on this show, and we've got lots more show to go. Coming up here in just a moment, I'm going to speak about that leftist journalist who was murdered in Philadelphia. Anti-gun Journo who, well, he hated right-wingers and had a lot to say about us online. Would you look back at your timeline if you died and went to heaven and say, yeah, I'm really proud of all those things that I posted online? Because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I see things that I posted on Facebook like 10 years ago and they pop up in my timeline. I'm like, well, this is the cringe of all cringes. We'll talk about that. We'll look at some of his tweets that he posted and an interesting Nostradamus-like claim that Scott Adams had made that got called out by this liberal journalist. Anyways, we'll get into it in just a moment, but I want to let you know and remind you, we do have two awesome guests coming up on the show. Of course, every Tuesday and Thursday, my good friend, Camelia Peterson, she's a liberty activist here in the state of Missouri. She has a set time slot, and she joins us Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. We'll speak to Camelia Peterson this morning about a St. Louis teacher who was suspended, not yet fired, from her job at a St. Louis public school when it came out that she was earning buku bucks. Well, her side hustle was her dropping it like it's hot, dropping that dump truck. Austin, please careful with the language this morning. Anyways, it's usually a segment that we like to play the game, make Camelia blush. So I think it will probably be a good topic for us to make Camelia blush. We'll talk about that and, well, and some other topics as well. As a matter of fact, there's this topic that we're going to talk about with our 8:30 a.m. guest here. So just a little bit less than an hour from now, I'm going to speak to a YouTuber by the name of Better Bachelor. He goes by the name of Joker as well. I think his real name is Jay. And I've been really enjoying his content over the last couple of months, especially a video that I saw posted yesterday. Conservative women are just having a strong backlash against what we call the red pill online or red pill men online who suggest that getting married to conservative women is not going to give you any better odds of not being divorced than it is leftist or liberal women. See, a lot of times what we hear from the traditional conservatives online is that if you don't want to have to worry about divorces or a wife that will nag or harangue or destroy your life and take away your kids and flee with them to California and trans the kids, then you need to get yourself a good Christian conservative wife. Well, my grandpa Hans used to say whenever the grandkids would run up to him, he'd always be like, well, hold up a minute, because the Pew Research poll showed that one, that the majority of divorces initiated in this country are initiated by women, and that of those women, the majority of the women who initiate the divorces in this country are conservative Christian women.
No, God! No,
not just conservative
God,
Christian
please,
women,
no,
but
no,
yes,
no,
it's true, Michael Scott. It is true. Conservative Christian women, and not just conservative Christian women, but conservative Christian women who consider themselves to be very religious. They also denote that the majority of divorces initiated in this country are by conservative Christian women who say that religion is very important to them. So maybe you don't have to worry that they're going to take your kid and run away to California, but they are going to take your kids, and they are going to take your money, and they're going to hide your wife, hide your kids. They be taking everything up in here. We're going to talk to Better Bachelor, a.k.a. Joker, about that this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, and the kerfuffle online. Boy, there was a lot of kerfuffling. Everybody was kerfuffed. Go kerfuff yourself. Just kidding, for the love of God. If you're just watching the Wake Up America show for the very first time, you're probably like, who is this weirdo? God, these sound effects are insane, driving me crazy. This is a fun show, and we like to have fun, and we goof off, and we have funny sound effects.
How dare you?
Thank you, Greta Thunberg. So if you don't like it, maybe it's just not the show for you. I don't want to run anybody off, but I do want the people to stick around to know that it's my show, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to roast absolutely everybody. We're going to roast people that we love, people that we hate. Speaking of people that we hate, let's talk about this Josh Kruger, lefty journalist who downplayed violent crime, was gunned down in his Philadelphia home. Yeah. Josh Kruger, leftist journalist and activist who was based in Philadelphia, was shot and killed inside his home on Monday. Now, Kruger had a long history of downplaying violent crime and openly mocking those who expressed concerns about homicides in Philadelphia. Interesting. Fascinating. As a matter of fact, there's a long string of tweets that we get to go through and take a look, Mr. Josh Kruger, and see the things he had to say. Probably the most chilling of all of these tweets that I'm seeing that he's posted. Take a look at this. So this one, literally, he posted on September 30th. So 4 or 5 days ago here, in response to something that Scott Adams has said. Scott Adams posted on July 1st of 2020, if Biden is elected, there's a good chance you will be dead within the year. Okay, that was in 2020. It's 2023, so we're all alive. So you could say technically incorrect. However, let's play by leftist rules. Let's play by leftist fact checker rules specifically. Have you ever had a meme that you've posted on social media be fact checked, and they will say, well, this is out of context, and it will be a blatant lie that the fact checkers are promoting, or they'll take some tiny thing that is incongruent in your statement, and then so they'll take it out of context and claim that this is completely false according to politifact.com, right? So let's play by lefty rules here and say, we'll give Scott Adams a mulligan on this one. Okay, so he was wrong within the year, but we're going to go ahead and give Scott the Nostradamus Award here, because here's Josh Kruger, who said just a few days ago, the Dilbert dude is like Nostradamus. Look at this prediction from 2020. Wow, eerie. So maybe Scott Adams should have said, if Biden is elected, there's a good chance you'll be dead within his term. And as you can see, Josh Kruger is dead within his term. Now, fascinating. Now, ordinarily, you'd just see something like that without any context and think, oh, this is horrible. Austin, how could you possibly be dunking on the death of this person who just was murdered, right? Well, let's take a look at a little bit more of his. Come on. We need that. We're going to need that Whoopi Goldberg clip when I talk about that next. So pause. And let's go back. Here's Lefty Journo Josh Kruger with a nice public service announcement and an FYI. He is using some harsh language here, but he's talking about the straights, people like you or me who, I know we got a lot of gay people who watch our show, so this is not something, I'm not attacking the gays here, but he is attacking the straights. So perhaps I feel the need to return fire, but take a listen.
Straight people. This is my annual complaint. To stop walking down the sidewalk, shoulder to shoulder, like this is a middle school fucking dance. Nobody gives a shit about your codependent relationship. I just want sidewalk that I can traverse on, right? So you don't need to hold hands. You don't need to walk shoulder to shoulder. You don't need to do this cutesy bullshit like this is fucking 7th grade. This is Philadelphia, 2023. You're an adult. Stop fucking holding hands. Move to the side so people can get by both ways. I'm fucking done with it, straight people. They should have never given you people the right to marry.
I said, what in the butt? They should have never given you the right to marry. This is Lefty Journo Josh Kruger, who hated you and wanted you dead, thinks that you're all Nazis, and of course gaslights us frequently. Here's one of his new pins that he posted that he got for his backpack. This was in September of 2023. So just a couple weeks ago. No one's treading on you, sweetie. Right? No one's treading on you, sweetie. Interesting, actually, I just saw this morning that the state of Illinois has announced that they now have gun registration is open for people who are the owners of assault rifles in the state of Illinois. So if you live in Illinois, no one's treading on you, sweetie. They just want you to register your quote unquote assault rifles. Interesting. No one's treading on you, sweetie. Fascinating. And the insight into the mind of man. One man, Josh Kruger. Andy No, who posted this tweet, says, unfortunately, Josh Kruger's online legacy will be his posts over the years downplaying violent crime in Philadelphia. In this example, he deployed an oft-used, quote, gotcha tactic, where someone takes a photo or provides testimony of a snapshot of normal life to dismiss violence in a city. I wasn't raped, robbed, or murdered in this one moment. Therefore, rapes, robs, and murders aren't happening, right? This is a common tactic that's called Mott and Bailey fallacy, and the left uses it quite frequently. Now, here's Josh Kruger saying, today I learned there apparently is a, quote, crippling crime wave destroying all cities, according to Stephen Miller, which includes, presumably, Philly. My house is not on fire, and chaos is not reigning in the street. I saw a man get a parking ticket yesterday. My trash got picked up. Fascinating, Josh. Well, now you're dead. I wonder what you're thinking now. Nothing. And what else? If Josh Kruger were here, says Aristophanes. I didn't know Aristophanes was still alive. Oh, I'm thinking about the Greek Empire. If the Greek, they were city-states, right? Not empire. The Greeks never had an empire, did they? No, it was Macedonia. Does that count? I'm thinking about the Roman Empire. If Josh Kruger were here, says Aristophanes, he'd probably say something stupid about safe injection sites and housing the unhoused. But Josh Kruger is not here. Zombie-like inhabitants in Philadelphia. Here we are. I was in Philly a little earlier this year. Scary place. Look at this. This is, I mean, Ukraine is in better shape, thanks to our tax dollars. Looky there. Would you want to walk down those streets? Would you want to live in this city? Look at this. Terrifying, dangerous cities. But according to Josh Kruger, nothing happening right there. He was shot dead at his home. Of course, he was a big critic of law enforcement, downplayed gun violence in his city, and of course, advocated for political violence against his opponents, people like you and me. Now that I'm no longer in government, Josh Kruger says, I can finally say publicly it's not wrong to punch Nazis. Now, I don't want to go too much into a tangent on this one, but I do want to say this, that when someone says that you're a Nazi, what they're saying is that it's okay to do, what they're doing is they're legitimizing violence against you. They're legitimizing the violence. And what they're saying is that it's okay not only to commit violence against you, as he's saying, because, of course, he thinks that people like you and I are Nazis, but he thinks that it's okay to murder us. He thinks that it's okay for people not just to punch us. He thinks it's okay to kill us. But of course, irony of ironies, probably killed by his gay lover. The reports that I'm reading right now show that there was also heroin found in his home where the incident occurred. Here's Josh Kruger saying, you don't know how to properly read reports. Black offenders account for 14% of white victims. Meanwhile, white offenders account for 57% of white victims. I assuming you're acting in bad faith, much like white supremacists do. You might not be a Nazi, but you argue as they do. Interesting. I'm pretty sure you think we're Nazis, bro. He says, there is no such thing as ethical consumption in an inherently exploitative capitalist society. Fascinating, as he enjoys himself a tasty beverage, the result of capitalism, and likely has a very expensive iPhone that he's using to take the picture with. So very fascinating. Well, we all know that at the very least, Josh Kruger has become a good communist, if you know what I'm saying. Frequent critic of police, Josh Kruger there. Yes, in Philadelphia, dead. Leftist journalist was shot dead. Andy Ngo says, tragically shot dead. I would not be that kind. Of course, a big-time advocate in favor of violence against people like yourself, fatally shot inside his home. He says, look, or he said before he was dead, look, it's that lawless land of liberals in Philly where shootings are dropping to levels not seen in years. Well, see, it only takes one, or in your case, I think 10 shots to the stomach, Josh. He says, some idiot just said you're more likely to get shot and killed than die of COVID in Philly to make some insensitive rhetorical point for, quote, his side. Folks, 4 times as many Philadelphians have died of COVID than gunshots this year. I understand math is hard, but do better. Well, Josh, you're going to have a hard time doing math in hell. He also says, Philly journalist Josh Kruger mocked the ideas of using a gun to protect his home. He was killed in his home yesterday. He said, I'm changing the locks. People are crazy. Drugs can help, but also can create or exacerbate mental health problems. I'm still not going to be a dickhead to people who need help, though, he said. He also says, I can already hear the armchair advice brigade saying what I should have done. To me, guns escalate and dramatically increase risk of injury or death, even in home or self-defense situations. In this case, technically a burglary. You can't be Yosemite Sam just because you're afraid. Well, that deserves a big... Do you think that Josh Kruger, in the moments that he was staring down the barrel of a gun from his allegedly ex-lover after he got done smoking a bunch of heroin or meth or whatever it was they found in his home, the drugs they found in his home, do you think that in that just that one moment, before his gay lover looked him in the eyes, before his gay lover pulled the trigger and shot him dead, right? Like a scene out of Gay Chicago. Well, I guess it's a musical, so all musicals like Chicago are dead, but like, you know, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, they both, oh yes, they both, oh yes, they both reach for the gun, the gun, the gun, the gun. Oh yes, they both reach for the gun, for the gun. Do you think that just for a brief moment, that as his life was flashing before his eyes and as all of these tweets that he has posted, do you think that for just one moment that Josh Kruger would have thought, God damn, would I kill for an assault rifle right now? Oh, I think he would. I think he would. What do you mean? Wait a minute. Hey, you hit the wrong thing there. We're not going to a commercial break just yet. Let's take a brief little break here for just a moment, though, and say good morning to the 2,400 people watching us live. Whoa, what's up? Yo. Nice to see you all here today. Do me a favor, will you? Click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this content. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of money to put together shows like these for you. I get my butt up at 4:30 a.m. every Monday through Friday so we can do a show from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. And the best thing that you can do to help us out for people like us who are trying to fight for economic freedom, personal liberty, and the right to own a GD gun is click that like button and subscribe to the channel. Do it right now. Help us to spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. Yeah, so I think if I look back on my life history, there are some tweets or some posts that I would probably regret. But I have to say, of all of the regrets, you can say Josh Kruger probably has the most. Well, it's hard to be regretful when you're dead. Again, you can text the show as well. Let us know what's on your mind. What are you thinking about today? Are there any stories that we might be missing that you think we should cover? You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. 1586. A lot of you who are here for the first time may not know, but the Wake Up America show is just a two-person operation, right? And it's my dream to create a podcast, and from this podcast, make it successful and turn it into a network, grow a sort of libertarian Daily Wire, if you will, make documentaries, make movies one day. And so by tuning in and watching the show right now, you're helping to support an American dream. So thank you. It's just me and my wife and our supporters who have been with us since we launched the show a year ago, and Lear Capital, right? We've had a lot of support from our friends at Lear Capital back when we only had 20 or 30 viewers live in the morning to sponsor the show, and they're still with us. And you know what? It's time for us to say thank you. Thank you to Lear Capital. If you're a big believer in gold and silver like I am, it's time for us to stick by our principles and secure our financial freedom, and call Lear Capital today. I talked to them yesterday, and they still have that $500 account credit available for you right now, but only if you call that phone number, 1-800-885-2175, or visit LearAustin.com. If you visit LearAustin.com, they'll send you a gold and silver information packet, and I promise you they're not going to spam you or call you over and over and harass you. That is not going to happen, okay? I promise. But you can only get that $500 account credit if you call that number, 1-800-885-2175. Write it down right now, 1-800-885-2175. Tony the Tiger over in the chat says, you can't lose with gold. Hell yes. You can visit LearAustin.com, but what I recommend is go ahead, even if you're not going to buy gold today, go ahead and get your account set up, because they will give you that $500 account credit. They'll push it on to your account so that whenever you make your first purchase, you're good as gold, right? So write that number down. Give them a call today, 1-800-885-2175. That's 1-800-885-2175. Glorious. Love me some disco music. All right, nice to see ya. Do your research, says SM77. Yes, absolutely. Do your research, and I appreciate that very much. Daddy Big Balls says, I hope I feel like the clown I am peddling BS to nobodies. Wow, that's not very nice. He's calling you all nobodies, but I think 2,300 people, there's a lot of somebodies in there, but there's at least one loser, isn't there, Daddy Big Balls? Or should we call you Daddy No Balls? Thanks so much for the comment anyway, because, of course, your commenting helps us to grow the show anyway. So thank you very much for joining us. I do love to monetize my haters here on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. In just a few minutes, we're going to speak to Camellia Peterson about this and that, like this and like that and like this. First of all, I want to play this clip for you, though. Whoopi Goldberg arguing with Alyssa Farah on The View about abortion. Claims she's pro-life. Take a listen to this. Oh, come on, internet. Refresh.
To you,
Science
isn't that your choice to make that decision? Why do you want me to go with your belief when that is not my belief?
Because I'm not sure it's a belief. Well, right now, the states have the right to do whatever they want. In California and New York, it's all the way up until 9 months. Other states.
No, but let's stop that.
100%.
No doctor, no hospital, no one will take a baby at 9 months for an abortion.
You want to push me on my limits, but Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden will not give you their limits. And we're having this conversation. Why are we talking about the men?
I missed what you just said, but I'm just saying.
What about the men who are rapists? There are some states like Illinois, a blue state.
Yes, absolutely. There are rapists out there. Then why isn't it my choice if what happened to you happened to my daughter?
That's what's happening.
What happened to you happened to my daughter. Why isn't it my choice if she's 12 and pregnant?
I agree with you. She's acknowledging some acts. I agree with you on that.
Why isn't it your choice if she's 12 and she decides that she wants to cut her hoo-ha off and you're her father and you say no and they run away to California and they do it anyway? This continues.
Rape and incest?
There's always should be but why is it not my choice? This is the part I'm missing, because I understand your choice. I understand your choice. I also am pro-life. I want everybody to have a safe life. I want them to be safe and do all the things that they should be able to do. But when it comes to what is best for my family and I, why isn't that my choice and my doctor's choice without bringing anyone else in? And by the way, just because I'm poor doesn't mean the government doesn't have a responsibility to me as well.
But we got to talk about men in this conversation too, though.
Please, please, please. All right. Well, we're going to speak to Camellia Peterson. Coming up next, we're going to talk to CJ, a St. Louis teacher who was an OnlyFans, you know what star? Suspended. We'll talk about that when we get back with CJ on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
In the vast expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, they share you to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you and to Wake Up America. For memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Halloween is coming. The festival of Samhain approaches, and your lazy butt doesn't have a Halloween costume yet? How can you pledge allegiance to the Dark Lord this year and possibly offend everyone at the same time? Visit the AP for Liberty shop and get your shirt today. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. So grab your government is scary tee and tell everyone at the party that you're here to help. Other great seasonal items are available as well, so don't miss out. Then visit AP for Liberty Shop today. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every $1 we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados Journos, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Lovely to see all 1,900 of you today. Don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to our channel if you enjoy our content. It's exciting to see all the new names and faces. We saw a new face, Constant Drummer, over on the live stream this morning. I haven't seen you yet here. Good to see you, Constant. Welcome to the crew. Says he really likes that No Lives Matter shirt that we got with Michael Meyer on it over at apforlibertyshop.com. Well, don't forget, Constant Drummer, when you visit apforlibertyshop.com, there's a pop-up that will come up that shows an American Eagle. If you click to make it go away, like a lot of people do on accident, just so you know, it should still be in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It'll say 15% off. So if it's your first time buying anything from apforlibertyshop.com, you get 15% off your whole order. So don't forget to take advantage of that. You'll see that coupon fly into your screen when you visit the website. We've got all kinds of awesome Halloween merchandise available at apforlibertyshop.com. I saw Quest Fanning got himself some last night, as well as some Founding Flavors coffee. Quest has been with us, man, since Freedom Report days, 2013, 10 years ago, when I started my very first podcast. And now here we are. Thanks very much to all of our support from all of our listeners, all of our newbies, and our oldies. Not old, but all right. Well, teacher's pets. I want to be teacher's pet. Did you ever have a hot teacher growing up? I didn't. They all look like those gym coaches, you know, where it's like, you know, they're like he looked like a man, you know what I mean? Where it was like, you know, the PE coach was like a woman, but she looked like she could kick your ass. And now we got all these teachers out there who look like they could be like supermodels, Instagram models, or even, you know, other kinds of models. Well, apparently some of them are. In fact, a St. Louis teacher was put on suspension after it came out that she was selling nudes online. Let's talk to Camelia Peterson about that from the classroom this morning. I don't know if we're going to get a show or not. Good morning, CJ.
Good morning. School is in session.
Nasty, naughty. All right. Glad to have you here, Camelia. We always love your appearances every Tuesday and Thursday on the show at 8 a.m. Central Time. All right. Give us the skinny, set us up for this story. What's the background details here?
So this is a teacher who teaches in a small town of St. Clair, Missouri, which is about an hour or so outside of St. Louis, although there's a St. Louis connection here for sure. Mm-hmm. But she teaches freshman, sophomore English in high school there, and has only been there a couple of years. And it came out recently that she has an OnlyFans account. And she has been suspended or put on leave, whatever, while the school district is investigating. And, you know, of course, it's been the tip, honestly, and yes, if I have to hand in my libertarian card over this, that's fine. Like, you know, when you're talking about the kids, like, this is a whole different matter with me. I'm gonna go a little authoritarian here.
Here we go. Let's hear it.
So here's the thing, like the backlash you see in the articles posted about this is like, they're all talking about, oh, you know, it's your life, you know, you do what you want. And teachers in Missouri don't make enough money. So of course they have to resort to selling their bodies online.
Of course.
I mean, like, oh. And so, sorry, you know, like people like she was, yeah, I know it's Missouri, but it's also a very small town, rural town in Missouri. And so she was making around $42,000 a year. So is that fantastic money? It's not bad though. No,
it's not bad for Missouri.
Especially for only being there 2 years.
Yeah.
And so she's not having to, she's married, by the way. This is not like she's a single woman out there doing her thing. She's also married, and her husband is, shall we say, complicit and participating in this venture that they have going on.
Dude. I mean, like I know people love money, and for some people they don't care, right? They're for their reputation, and it's as long as they're not harming anybody. I know I completely agree. But however, we're talking about someone who is involved in the education of children, who has access to children, and you know what, Camellia, I just don't trust them. Okay, if you're a porn star online, posting nudes, and your children who are in your classroom can literally go and see your butthole, how about probably shouldn't be, teaching kids? What do you think?
Right. I mean, I think that's just it. There can be lots of things that you do with your life where, yes, you keep your personal side gig, your side hustle on the side, and you can keep that private and whatnot. But employers also, especially depending on type of job you have, whether or not you reflect publicly on that employer, they're going to have an opinion about what you do as far as what becomes public. And normally it's like a private business should be able to do whatever they want in this case. If that's not in line with their philosophy and standards as a business, they should be able to fire her, no problem. At will employment, right? We're conservatives, libertarians, we're in favor of that, right? So with a public school though, and a government employee, now it's not quite as clear cut, but the principle should be the same. The school has hired legal counsel because they're probably afraid of getting sued anymore. But she's admitted that she can see the writing on the wall, and let's be real, they've been making 8 to 10 grand a month on this. She doesn't care. I mean, come on. And by the way, St. Louis connection is like she got this idea from some friends in St. Louis who are doing the thing, which she was probably, if she was in St. Louis, we probably wouldn't even be hearing about it because they wouldn't care.
Right. I see that some of our commenters this morning are saying that, oh, you can geo-block your photos and videos so that people in your area can't see them, but doesn't matter. If somebody, somebody's going to know you. There's always a way, right? They're going to find your stuff. But here's the thing too. It's like, all right, she's making good money. But to me, like from what I have read, people who do pornography, they're kind of like professional basketball players, but they don't make professional basketball money, and professional football players, but they don't make professional football player money. Just because you're making $8,000 to $10,000 a month, that's really not that much money in the long run. And if you're not socking it away and putting it away for retirement, and here's the thing, well, we're going to talk about male disposability here in just a moment, but there's an expendability. There's an expiration date on the desirability, you might say, of women for these websites.
This is a great point, right?
Okay. Yeah,
right.
Would you like to? Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is a good point. It was like she can only do this for so long. So not only is this an issue because she has kids under her influence, parents care what their kids are exposed to, whether or not she's saying anything about it in the classroom is irrelevant. It affects her reputation with the students and how they view and respect her as a teacher, because those kids are here, and we're talking about freshmen and sophomores in high school especially. I mean, they know this, but the thing is,
look,
like,
I see the teacher's butthole.
But but you're right. Like, there is a limit to how long she's realistically going to be able to do that. And she is taking a profession that she went to school for and invested in and throwing it away.
But here's the thing. The only thing worse, like, again, if you're doing this in a vacuum and that's all you do, fine. The only thing worse than like her being a teacher and doing this is her husband who's facilitating it. Like, we're gonna get to the, it's not, I got a lot of problems with ladies these days, but they're the simps and the simp culture. Like, a lot of the problems that we have in our society are aided and abetted by beta males. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment, but very briefly, I want to say good morning to Lichia Wilder, who says good morning from the boot heel. We love our fellow Missourians here. Oh, you do?
Leisha. Yes. Hi, Leisha.
Really? Oh, okay, cool. Good morning, Leisha. My wife, Stephanie, says, in school, they will teach pole dancing in PE class soon. But then a little bit later on down, she says, pole dancing is actually very difficult. And I would like to ask you, Stephanie, I guess I will ask you when I get home, how you know that it is actually that difficult. We're going to have a little discussion. We need to bring back wife spankings, by the way. Camellia, can we talk about that in a little bit? Talk about, like, How we need to bring, you remember the old things that you used to see where it was like the manual for how to treat your wife, like how to spank your wife properly? Anyways, we'll talk about that. It could be great for OnlyFans content. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up, see, we're making Camellia blush. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. How you feeling today? Would you do me a Flavor Flav and click that like button and subscribe to the channel that you're watching us on right now? We'll be glad to have you. We just sold one of our inflation is t-shirts, Halloween costumes. Says that due to inflation, this is my Halloween costume this year. Very funny. Thank you for that. You can get your awesome Halloween libertarian t-shirts over at apforlibertyshop.com. I'm speaking to Camellia Peterson, who is a liberty activist here in the state of Missouri. We're talking about a St. Louis teacher who was suspended after it was found out that she was on OnlyFans. Well, so apparently the news is that because of this and all of the hubbub and the publication from this, she's now like doubled how much money she was making, things like that. So financially, at least for a short time, she should be okay, right?
Oh, I would certainly think so. Although, I have no idea, and I mean, I read the articles, and they didn't go into a whole lot of, well, except for the Riverfront Times kind of went into graphic detail. But
of course,
we won't discuss that. But so I don't know how much she was using the teacher shtick in her content. So maybe that hurts her a little from losing that. So I'm sure she'll get a bump in this for a while. But yeah, I mean, she should certainly be putting that money away and investing it. Now, it did, like, one of the articles did note that, even though her husband participates in this, like, it's not affected his job, whatever his job is. They didn't specify that, but, it hasn't affected his job.
It could. It's like all it takes is one jealous or angry wife of a CEO or a boss because she saw that her husband looked at the photos online and, she got angry and jealous. And then she puts the pressure on her husband and says, you need to fire him because I saw you looking at her photographs and I'm jealous. And that's all it would take. That's how it is. Speaking of jealousy, let's talk a little bit about this story. I'm going to speak to the Better Bachelor here. Have you seen this guy before, this Joker guy? Have you watched any of his videos, Camellia?
There was the clip that you posted yesterday, and I watched just a little bit of it. I didn't get through the whole thing, but I watched like first 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so.
So you are always complaining about Andrew Tate's and Pearl Davis's of the world, right? And you're always like, there are other red pill people who are actually pretty good. This is an example. This guy, he's going to be joining us at 8:30. He goes by the name of Joker. He does his YouTube channel is Better Bachelor. He's going to join us at 8:30 to talk about this this Pew Research poll where he was talking about this conservative women online who have kind of jumped on the Matt Walsh bandwagon with attacking red pill men over not wanting to get married. And they say, well, you just need to get yourself a good conservative woman. You need to find you a conservative woman who won't post her butthole online on OnlyFans. So that will solve all your problems. However, this video that we watched by Better Bachelor, who is one of the better red pillars, shows this Pew Research poll that shows that the majority of divorces initiated by women in this country, 70% or more, are initiated by Christian women who consider themselves to be very religious. I was honestly surprised by that when I saw it. Maybe I shouldn't be. Were you as surprised as I was?
Somewhat, although like when I see things like that, all kinds of questions start, popping up for me. I mean, first of all, when you're talking about things that are self-reported, there's already, some questions about that because people, depending on when you ask them and what their
it's a bullshit poll, blah, blah, blah.
So, but anyway, but the point is that it also raises the question of, people identifying as religious or Christian and how they quantify that because even though I think the United States is moving in a more secular direction, I do think that probably the majority of people, because they were raised that way, they want to identify and be known as a Christian and be serious about it. What that actually looks like in practice, I think, is probably a different story. But yeah, and I also think too that part of that is probably maybe that divorce has gotten destigmatized some in the church because it used to be like that was not an option. You didn't consider that. It didn't really matter what was going on, whether it was justified or not. Like that was not an option, which that's not good either.
Should it be stigmatized?
Should it be stigmatized? I don't know. I think, I've been watching some discussions that have been going on between, red pill guys and, TradCon. And one of them, is a divorce attorney that's been in this mix. And really, there are no good solutions to this, particularly with how, traditional conservatives on the Christian end want to, some of them, not everybody, want to approach it in terms of a more authoritarian take on it and, getting rid of no fault divorce and things like that. And I think really what it boiled down to, and what this New York City divorce attorney was talking about, was that we need to have more preparation in advance, more barriers to entry per se, and that people need to, people should know what they're getting into. And, when we talk about prenuptial agreements and things like that, those should not be stigmatized like they have been in the past. So I think it's and we need to talk about incentives, how do we make people want to stay married? So I think we're probably coming at it from the wrong angle. I agree, in that aspect.
Okay. Well, so you don't know, but here's the thing. Yesterday, I got people pretty riled up, as I do. My brother calls me the poop stirrer. I got people pretty riled up when I suggested that, and here, you got rid of your libertarian bona fides earlier. Here's me getting rid of my libertarian bona fides. But one of the ways that we can really help men in this country is if we were to make paternity tests mandatory before completion of a birth certificate. And people were saying things like, oh, this is statist. Okay, fine. So are birth certificates. And then they would say things like, only if a man requests it. But then that puts the burden on the man to say to his wife, oh, she can say, oh, well, what, you don't trust me? And then you create further division in the relationship. But here's the thing. If you've done nothing wrong, you have nothing to fear. Am I wrong?
It's a tough one, right? Because
no, it's not tough.
I
If you're
do
not
agree.
a cheating, if you're not a cheating, then it's not tough at all. You simply take the paternity test. You are the father, Maury Povich, and then you sign the birth certificate.
I'm not entirely opposed to that. I mean, I actually think it's probably a good idea. I also think that it does presume guilt before innocence, which I think is going to lead to its own set of issues. I mean, if it was a standardized norm and that was just part of the process, I think it would be no big deal.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting. But that's what I'm suggesting. I mean, here's the thing, by the time the next generation comes around, the only people who would be like, oh, this is out of the ordinary are people who have already had a child and then they're having a second child, for example. But for the next generation having their first child or what have you, it would just be a standard part of it, right? You take a paternity test. And then if they are the father, then, if the father still chooses, say that this child is born out of wedlock or what have you, and the father still chooses to raise that child, he can sign the birth certificate if he wants.
Sure. Okay. And so where people were pushing back on you from a libertarian point of view, I understand, and that, we don't want the government involved anymore. But if we're dealing with where we are right now,
yes,
the government is already involved. They're very much involved in, the outcome of a divorce and the awarding of child custody and money and on child support, all of those kind of things. They're very involved now. If we were in a scenario where people did, take responsibility for these kind of details before they decide to get married and into a relationship and have children and these sort of things, and they have those contracts and they talk these things through ahead of time, then I think you don't need the government involved, except for when we get to the legal issue if somebody actually breaks the contract. Part of that contract can be, paternity testing, whatever it is. You decide what goes into that.
Do you think that the government should force child support?
I am a little bit conflicted about this because, I know we talk in the context of a lot of this about, and because of the masculinity movement and the backlash against feminism, that we talk about a lot about how men are wronged in this. But I mean, the truth is that this goes the other way too. And there are a lot of really crappy guys out there as well.
No doubt.
I mean, I don't,
Don't you think it creates an incentive for women to hook up with crappy guys, right? If you know that, if you don't you know, like if you know that, right, there's a chance that you're going to get stuck with the bill, that you might take a little bit more you might be responsible for yourself. Does daddy government really need to step in and be the father that forces the men to be responsible? Because here's the thing, we don't have any rights when it comes to the child, right? You can kill the child in a lot of states, right? You can take the child and run, right? And get preferential treatment when it comes to family courts. Why don't we institute some policies that might be harmful for women, meaning that they have to take a step down towards equality, but that are positive and would be beneficial for men? What's wrong with instituting policies that might be good for men in this country if it means that the women actually they have to get their feelings hurt a little bit and be responsible and have some accountability? I like that word a lot because I know it scares you ladies. Accountability.
So here's the thing.
I need to make a misogynist shirt for AP for Liberty shop to scare all the women in society, and it just says accountability.
So I don't think that's a bad idea, but I don't think that in practice, I mean, like, who thinks about, the ramifications of what the government is or isn't going to enforce or do for them when they decide to engage in activity that leads to children, right? I mean, so I think it's just the same as the government trying to incentivize more children by giving tax breaks or other things to families to incentivize marriage and people. It's just like it doesn't work, and so I'm not sure the reverse is going to work either. Just like saying that the death penalty is a makes people think about whether or not they're going to kill. It doesn't. Like, none of that stuff is effective. So I don't. It's a nice idea, but I don't know that it would work.
See, I think that Better Bachelor Joker is right when he says that you really don't get any kind of a benefit marrying a conservative woman over a liberal woman, because I don't see there being any women who are willing to say, oh yes, I will take accountability and I will give myself less government privileges so that men in society will stop self-deleting and will also have better mental health scenarios and situations and have healthier family lives and relationships with their children. I don't see that happening. I don't see you as a libertarian even seeming to sort of offer that bone to us men.
Well, I don't have any problem with, equalizing those kind of policies like that. I have no issue with, because I know that I'm going to do, what I'm going to do regardless of that.
Okay. All right. Well, I do have to run, Camellia. I've got Better Bachelor coming up here. He's probably waiting for that live stream link. Can you do me a favor, share with our audience anything else that you want to share before we let you go?
The only thing I'm going to say is completely unrelated, but in other political news, I'm going to drop a link in the chat, because I'll tell you, everybody knows I've not been a big Marjorie Taylor Greene fan, but she dropped a thread about what's been going on with Matt Gaetz and everything that I think was really worth reading. And, that's kind of a hot topic today. So anyway, I'm going to drop that in there. Check it out. It's worth reading.
Okay, there you go. It's worth reading. Thank you very much, Camellia Peterson. We did make you blush today, and we look forward to playing the game again on Thursday. We'll see you then.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks very much. That's Camellia Peterson. What do you guys think of CJ? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, you can text the show and let us know what you think at 573-319-1586. All right, when we get back, the man, Better Bachelor, Joker, he's the one who brought up that study, says conservative women know better to marry than liberal women. Woo-hoo. A lot of panties and a lot of twists. Well, I guess, do conservative women wear panties, or do they wear the moo-moos, the mama granny panties? Talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself, or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericashow.com. How are you feeling today? You guys in a good mood? Oh, nice. Well, studio audience, definitely in a good mood. Well, what about you? Well, I can't see or hear you, so the only way that I can know if I am meeting your seal of approval is if you click that like button or subscribe to the channel that you're watching us on right now. We had a great conversation with my friend Camellia. We like to play Make Camellia Blush on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think that we accomplished it. Thank you, CJ, for putting up with me embarrassing you twice a week. It's always a great segment. And then, of course, I love to introduce new people to you as well. My next guest calls himself the Joker, but he's not going to wear any of that weird face paint or anything like that. He goes by the Better Bachelor online. He posted a video yesterday that contained a survey that talked about how the majority of divorces that are initiated by women in the United States are initiated by Christian women who consider themselves to be very religious. Now, conservative women online, very unhappy with this gentleman because he pointed out the obvious, that if you're a man who's interested in having a relationship or getting married, your chances of getting through that marriage without a divorce aren't any better. if you marry a conservative woman versus a liberal woman? Well, there was a great we heard a great screaming. All of a sudden, a thousand collective voices cried out in unison, and will suddenly be silenced by the next conversation we'll have with the Better Bachelor himself, aka Joker, who's joining us live right now. Good morning, Joker.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So you were responding initially to a tweet that was posted by a conservative woman. I think she goes by Conspiracy Pilled online on Twitter, who says she's very upset because men are blaming women for everything. They say that they've been good conservative activists. They're fighting back against feminists, and people like you just don't appreciate what conservative women bring to bear. How would you respond to that?
Well, part of the challenge that men are having today, whenever you speak about the issue, it always becomes, well, men are bad to date. Men are not good partners. Men are failing the families. And men turn right around and say, well, actually, you women are just as bad, if not worse in many cases. And it always boils down to, why do men hate women, or why do women hate men, or whatever. The reality is, it really boils down to the no-fault divorce. It boils down to how easy it is today to get divorced. And in many cases, the courts overwhelmingly seem to side with the women, especially when it comes to alimony, child support, and custody of the kids, things like that, and taking part of the men's assets. And we're still in this place where the laws are designed like they were 30 or 40 years ago. Yet women are very quick to say, hey, you know what? We're out there, we're making money, we want to be even in everything, but they only want to be even in the air-conditioned computer jobs, not the oil derricks and the ditch digging. They want to be even when it comes to being able to have the same rights, and which is fine. We have nothing against that, until it comes to divorce. And then it's, well, actually the mother should get custody most of the time, because that's traditional. And of course, we need to support the women because they don't make as much. And we start going down this rabbit hole. And a lot of guys today are just saying, not only do I not like my dating options, but I see what's happening, or what happened to my father, my uncle, my brother or myself coming out of divorce. I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not a good, you don't sign a contract where if the person you're in business with quits, they're going to win, because there's no incentive to stay in the contract anymore. And so a lot of men today are just saying, you know what, this is a bad deal for me. I want out. And every time that's raised, it's, well, the women have to leave because the man's bad. Or the men say, hey, she did something. And it doesn't, it's meaningless anymore. You're just getting involved with the government. It really doesn't mean anything, whether you want to talk religiously, whether you want to talk. The only thing it does is it helps the family if you have kids. But again, for a man to kind of throw away his assets and gamble it to where at any point she says, hey, I'm kind of done. Guys are just they're not having it anymore.
Okay, speaking in broad terms there, I think I agree with you largely with what you're saying. But if we could get a microanalysis from you specifically, the content of your video was specifically responding to what this conservative woman had said, that, she's our ally in this fight, right? So what they tell us, and what tradcons like Matt Walsh and others Ben Shapiro and others might say, which, like you, I kind of like Matt Walsh. I'm not the biggest fan of him, for example. I'm a little bit more of a libidinous libertarian, right? But I do like Ben Shapiro and others, and I listen to a lot of Jordan Peterson and conservatives, and I'm in a traditional marriage, if you will, right now. But conservative women and conservative men will say, well, you just need to not be marrying the bra burning, butthole bearing on OnlyFans female. You need to get yourself a good conservative woman. But you say, but there's a catch. What is it?
Well, if you look at the statistics, I simply looked up, and it's very simple to do. So anybody that wants to kind of verify for this themselves, they can do it. I looked up multiple studies where divorcees and people that were separated were interviewed, and they, what is your religion? How strongly do you believe in religion? How often do you pray? Do you read the Bible? How involved are you within the church? 75% of the people that they surveyed, it was a medium sample size of about 5,000 women. They asked them, and they said, well, 75% were Christian/Catholic. Less than 1% in the Jewish community, in the Muslim community, in the Mormon community. So when they really break it down, it really came down to, well, it's a lot of Christians in here, and there's, of course, a lot of atheist or agnostic, 75%. Then when you look down through it and you say, okay, what are the percentage of people, how often do they go to church? 33% go weekly. 50 or 60% say that they follow the Bible either literally or as close to literal as they can. Well, there's not a whole lot in there that gives you the permission, other than adultery and perhaps being abused, to leave. But we see now a very large number of women that are, married they either marry young and decide, hey, by 30, maybe I did this because they see all these women out there having fun and they're enjoying their lives, and the kids are now in school where they can maybe chase their own lives or their own occupations, or women are getting, up to the age where the kids are kind of getting ready to be off on their own. And then they're saying, something, I've always wanted to do X, or I feel like I haven't lived my best life. Well, those are all the tropes and all the lessons that's been taught by feminism. And so are they really following their faith? Are they really believing in the family? And then when you add to this, the Matt Walshes and everybody else saying, hey, well, you haven't found a good one. 66% of women vote Democrat in the United States. 66% is. So there's a large segment out there that are in line with the, abortion. They're in line with what the LGBTQ community is doing and trying to teach this to young kids. They're not signing up for school boards to push back against some of the teachings that kids are getting in school today. And so that's what 66% of women. So now we've shaved it down a little bit. And then once you've shaved it down there, how many women are going to college? Well, they're getting through the indoctrination there. And so when you start really boiling it down, how many conservative women are really conservative? How many of them are really, God-fearing, God, country, and the Second Amendment type women? It's very few. It's very few now. So the dating pool and the dating pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller for men. So now you have 50% of men that are looking for 10% of women. Add on top of that, women are graduating upper education now at 60%, where men are graduating at 40%. And those women say, I only want to date a man that is as successful or more successful than I am. Because, hypergamy and wanting to at least have a man that is better off than you. Most women say, according to surveys and statistics, they want a man that makes roughly 50% more than they do. Well, if they're getting all the upper education and they're taking a lot of the professional jobs today, and they want a man that's still better, now the men's pool that these women can choose from is very small, and the rest of the guys don't meet their criteria. So it's becoming a breakdown now to where finding a good one in both directions now, because women will say, well, Joe the plumber that makes $100,000, yeah, he makes a decent income, but he's not high enough educated. And then if you're high enough educated, but you're only bringing in 30, 40, 50 grand a year because you're a professor or something or other, the women say, I make 70 or 80 grand. I want him to make more. And now we also get I'm told, especially the young women, I'm told that I deserve a 6 foot tall, attractive guy no one can find anybody anymore. And so the breakdown is just absolutely complete.
One of my favorite things to do is drive all my female friends in my life insane by telling them when they complain about men that perhaps they need to lower their standards.
They never will.
No, they never will. Maybe that's why they're so angry all the time, is because the pool of available men gets smaller and smaller. They're also frustrated. Let me go ahead and reset for those. It is a live show, I know, so people sometimes are tuning into us and just joining us here now and wondering who the hell we are. If you're just tuning in, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson, host of the Wake Up America show. Don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content that you're hearing and listening to right now. I'm speaking to the Better Bachelor, aka Joker. You can follow him over on YouTube as well. And I hope that my friends and our moderators will do me the favor of dropping those links over there in the Rumble chat so people can follow and subscribe to his content. I'm sure he would be very grateful. We're talking about a video that the Better Bachelor did that was released this week that was in response to a tweet from a conservative woman who was angry that it seems like all men that men are blaming all women for the problems that we face in America today, even though she, as a good Christian conservative, has been fighting against the feminists. And if I understand you correctly, Joker, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you appear to be saying that these women claim to be conservatives and have conservative values, but 66% of women are voting Democrat anyway, despite what they say. And the majority of them are going to initiate divorces against their husbands anyway. So the actual pool of available women to men like ourselves who would want to have a woman who is traditional in certain ways and not divorce us and take our kids and trans the kids in California as a sanctuary state, if you will, then the pool of available women is also actually very, very small, from which we might choose as well.
Yeah, what men traditionally look for, and no matter how much social media or the news or movies try to portray, the 300 or 400 pound gal is bold and beautiful, you can put that message across, but you may be selling it, but men are not buying it. And the same thing happens when it comes to many of the other things men are seeing. Men don't care how much money a woman makes. The reason being because they know if they are not supporting the family, they're not viewed as necessary. And so what's happening now is you've got women that are saying, I want a man that brings X things to the table. And men say, oh, yeah, that's kind of traditional. You want us to be able to support the family. You want us to be a protector. You want us to be a provider. You want all the traditional things. But then when a man says, I also want the traditional things, I want a woman that hasn't gone crazy in college and slept with 30 people. I want a woman that...
How dare you? How dare you? And don't forget, and sorry to interrupt, but there is also this concept, and we won't have time to get into it today, but this concept that people bandy about called hoflation, where men like ourselves, we have to be 20 times better than our grandfathers did in order to try and marry a woman who's 20 times worse than our grandmothers were. But I do want to pick on the men for just a moment here, Joker, and I want to see if you agree with me on this one. Men, specifically what we might call beta males, right? Or simps, if you will, are the biggest enablers of this, right? Captain Save a Hose, right? The white knights who go out there, and as soon as you criticize some, especially conservative woman online, as soon as you criticize them and suggest that perhaps maybe you're not actually standing up against feminism, maybe you're actually feeding back into it, right? The simp armies will descend upon you. It's our fellow men who are thrown our bodies. The male disposability, this concept, it's not just a leftist idea of, oh, you're patriarchal, I'm a strong independent woman who need no man. But male disposability also exists among conservative circles, where don't cry in front of us or we get the ick. And also, I want a man who also takes care of me, and I claim to be a Christian, even though I don't, I've had a body count of 150 before I get married. But we men enable this behavior because too many of us are simps who put up with it and will go and kick the guy's ass who dares to speak back to a woman because he might have hurt her feelings. Am I wrong?
Right. Well, it depends on the group of men, I think, because there's a large number of men that may have been taught that traditionally, but now there's a large number of men that are saying, something, if you really want to be just as independent and you don't need us, good luck to you. And that number is growing very rapidly because men understand and they see that the nature of how things are not working out well for them, because they will come, to rescue a woman. I did a story about this where a lady had a flat tire and broke down on the side of the road. Guy came over, slid underneath her vehicle enough to get it running, drove it back to a gas station where they had cameras, thankfully. He fixed her car, and she claimed that he had tried to grab her and grope her and ask for a kiss, and he got divorced because of it. He got taken to court because of it, and only because this gas station, and all he was doing is being nice, just helping her. He didn't even ask for anything in return. And thank goodness the gas station had cameras, which vindicated him. But by that time, he was divorced. He was several tens of thousands of dollars of lost money because of this case. And all he was trying to do was help the woman. So more and more men are seeing this. And as far as the ones that are, stepping up and women can do no wrong group, these are the young men today, and some of the older men, let's face it, 50%, or actually, technically, I believe it's about 45% of all kids are now being raised by single mothers. Now, there may be a stepfather in the home, but that's not, the child is not that man's offspring. So, there is going to be a disconnect there. And so and as a matter of fact, United States is #1 in the world for single motherhood raising children. So you've got kids growing up in a single mother household with no father. They're not being taken to church and or other things, whether it's, even Boy Scouts now lets girls in, and Boy Scouts is now pushing the LGBTQ stuff. So there's no place that young men are seeing positive male role models in the home. Then they go to school where something like 80 or 90% of teachers are female. Then they go to college where same thing, most administration. A young man under Title IX now can be accused of doing something improper on a date, and with no proof whatsoever, he's put in front of a board of women that judge that he's now out of college and whatever he's spent is gone, and he doesn't get his degree. So he's got to fall in line. Ben Shapiro and some of the other conservatives we talk about, they've been chased off college campuses. Look at the Berkeley riots that happened all over Ben Shapiro, just a conservative man trying to talk. So you can't be conservative in the colleges, yet women are still sending their kids off to college knowing this.
And conservative men are paying for their daughters to go to these colleges to get indoctrinated. Can I interject on something very briefly? And I'd want to get your take on this. Now, some people might say I'm being a little tongue in cheek on this one, but there's a sense of irony to my view on this, but also in some ways I'm being very unironic. When you were bringing up the concept of women in men's spaces, right? Boy Scouts, for example. So in an ironic sense and in a very unironic sense, I don't oppose biological men, playing in female sports. I'm opposed to genital mutilation. I think there should be separate facilities. But as a sort of moral lesson, if you will, I actually am in favor, and this is where my conservative friends get very angry with me. I'm in favor of allowing the trans in the sports, taking away women's scholarships, beating the hell out of them on the field, as a sort of moral lesson, because I see it as one of those examples where women are screaming and crying out loud because women are finally being inconvenienced for something, of course, which is when things change. But I wonder what you think about that position that I take. What do you think about biological males competing against women in their own sports? Is this not the equity that they claim to demand?
Well, what's ironic is that it's like I said, women much higher percentage are the ones that are saying, no, we want this. We're okay with this. Yes. We want the trans community in here. And at a certain point, as a man, you have to say, something, you're right. Yes. Because why am I going to fight? Because you look at the swim team with Leah Thomas, right? Yeah. Why am I going to fight for the women when the women are not fighting for themselves? And so if they're not going to push back, now what happens after they graduate and after they lost their medals, they come back around and say this wasn't fair. But I'll tell you, if this guy, Leah Thomas, goes to swim at a meet and all the women show up and they're lining up on the blocks to dive and all the women just stood there and Leah Thomas is the only one on a block and he just swims his laps all by himself and then the women walk out, there's no more female meet. It's just, Leah Thomas is the only one swimming. Women's sports grinds to a halt. All they have to do is stand up for themselves and it would change instantly. But see, if I say something, oh, you're a phobe, but you're doing this, you're wrong. So my advice in a case like this is let the women continue to lose. As a matter of fact, now on my channel, I often talk about this where I say, hey, this man dressed as a woman just won this pageant or came in first or second in the sport. And my answer is, something, I actually really like this because this does prove that men, when they're participating in a female sport, men are still better than women. Men are now winning the beauty contests ahead of women. That just shows you how superior men are, that even when they're trying to be women and pretending to be women, they still, even women, admit that they're better than they are. So
did you see the chess tournament that banned biological males from the female tournaments? Now that's a spicy one. That's a very spicy because we're talking about a battle of the minds.
Right. Ironically, that's the one place where you could maybe say, hey, actually, this is okay. But instead they ban that, but then they let the sports continue on. So I think a lot of guys are starting to say, you know what, if this is really what you want, ladies, we're not going to fight your fight. Yep. If you want to go in there and you want to change the world, do it. But if you're okay with this, I'm okay with it.
That's what I've been saying. This is what I've been saying. The ladies say they're strong, they're independent, they don't need no man. I'm tired of seeing the cries from women online whenever they see a woman getting her ass beat in some street fight video. Where are all the men standing up? Where are the men? Why aren't the men standing up? Because the men who did stand up, like Daniel, what was his name? Daniel Neely, the Jordan Neely, Daniel Pearl, not Daniel Pearl. That was the journalist who was beheaded, but you know what I'm talking about. In New York City. Yeah, he's getting manslaughter charges, right, from this psychopath who was, possibly going to hurt others, who had hurt others in the past. Why are there no good men left standing up? No, what I think is we have to let the ladies give them what they want, right? Remove the cloak of protection from them, and they will cry out, and things will finally change, because things only change in society when women are mildly inconvenienced. But I like to quote my old friend H.L. Mencken, who once said that, and I'm gonna bastardize his quote. I'm gonna change his quote a little bit. Democracy is the theory that the common woman knows what she wants and deserves to get it, good and hard. Better Bachelor Joker. I want to give you the last word here, and also give any plugs that you might like to plug for our audience before we let you go today.
The big thing today is if women are concerned, all of a sudden everybody's concerned because the marriage rates are down. And the reproductivity and the number of children being born are down. This is a direct result of no-fault divorce and what women have asked for. Now there are laws and in many cases stigma that if a man asks out a woman and it's unwanted, that he's shamed. Well, men don't know if it's wanted or not until they try to ask a woman out. So now a lot of people are saying, you know what, we're not going to ask women out. We're not going to date them anymore. They're certainly not going to marry them anymore. I've got a group of guy friends. The whole entire house becomes the man cave, and they're just going to do their own things. And until women change and kind of reverse some of these stigmas that they put on men, they're going to have to step up, start asking guys out and making the first move on the dates and everything else, because they basically told men, knock it off unless I want you to. And the men said, I don't know when that is. You can find me over on YouTube at betterbachelor.locals.com. Same thing for Odyssey and Rumble, betterbachelor.locals.com. And I'm over on Twitter at Bachelor Joker. So you can find me in any of those places.
I love your videos, man. I've been watching them for the last couple of months, and my wife and I love to listen to them together. And you make a lot of good points. You are definitely a highly recommended follower. Reach out to us again if you've ever got a topic you'd like to discuss, and hopefully we'll have you back again really soon. Good content, my man.
Will do. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. He's the Better Bachelor. What do you think of the Better Bachelor? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, that's 573-319-1586. I thought that it was a pretty good show today. What about you? Great guests, great topics, very spicy. Probably got a lot of people hate me after the show. But if you don't hate me, why don't you click the like button and subscribe to the channel? Or even if you do kind of hate me, why don't you hate like and hate subscribe? Then you can come back and you can torture me tomorrow morning, every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central. The Wake Up America show streams live, and it gets spicy. It's politics, it's dating, it's religion, it's marriage, it's divorce. We hope that you'll join us again tomorrow. At 8 a.m. Central, we got Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's the man. It's always big brain time when the judge comes on. So make sure and come back out. Steffi P for Liberty, my wife, says, I asked Austin out first. It's okay to be an assertive woman. I agree. All right, well. Also, guys, don't forget, visit ap4libertyshop.com. We did average over 1,000 viewers live this morning for the entire show. See, we got 943, still very respectable. Good God, that's a lot of people. If you haven't yet, visit our website at ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. Not only do we have a bunch of delicious coffee brands that you can only get exclusively at our website. My favorite is Thomas's Painkiller Coffee. That's our Colombian single origin. I also love the Benjamin Franklin Electric Elixir as well. Try any of our delicious coffee blends, but we've got all kinds of awesome merchandise. Not only do we have coffee, but we've got cool, shirts, like our Caucasian shirt. This one was very popular with people. Don't Tread on Me shirts, V-neck for the ladies. I know you ladies like the V-neck. Hilarious Pepe shirts like Man, I Miss the 70s. We also did a Thinking About the Roman Empire shirt, which everybody's been thinking about the Roman Empire lately, right? Get your thinking about the Roman Empire Pepe shirt over at ap4libertyshop.com. Somebody messaged me the other day, said that they thought that our Donald Trump toilet brushes were absolutely hilarious. And I totally agree. This is the kind of gift you can give to somebody if they love Trump or they hate Trump, right? Clean up the poop, right? Or make your toilets great again. No? Who was going to clean your toilets, Donald Trump? All right, I got to run. Thanks so much for tuning in to the show. We're glad to have you here. Thank you again, rumble.com. Let's give it up to Rumble. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. All of our friends at rumble.com are the greatest. We'll see you tomorrow morning right here on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Jump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Halloween is coming. The festival of Samhain approaches, and your lazy butt doesn't have a Halloween costume yet? How can you pledge allegiance to the Dark Lord this year and possibly offend everyone at the same time? Visit the AP for Liberty shop and get your shirt today. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. So grab your government is scary tee and tell everyone at the party that you're here to help. Other great seasonal items are available as well, so don't miss out. Then visit AP for Liberty Shop today. That's AP4LibertyShop.com.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every $1 we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.